Well, there you are. Again. Charlie Greer podcast. Again, I do this every day. Today was Kurt Cobain murdered. Perhaps. Look at my hair. Dear Lord. I didn't slick it back because I'm going to go get it cut. I'm going to shave it all off. See? And my gray hair. I'm starting to look like I'm looking like Santa Claus or something. But yeah, was Kurt Cobain murdered? See, maybe. Perhaps. You never know. So let's just start off by I was in bands by the time Nirvana broke, like 91, whatever. I'd already been in, like, hell, I was in my second band, maybe. Third band, I don't know. Yeah, third band, I think. So I was already gigging. By the time I heard Nirvana, I'd probably done at least 100 gigs, maybe more. You know, I can't count. So, quite honestly, I wasn't a fan. I mean, yeah, it's like, oh, okay, never mind. I mean, it's kind of a poppy. They're kind of like like what Kurt would say, the Knack or the Car. There's kind of a, hey, they weren't some kind of revolutionary, oh my God, change the face of the earth and get rid of everything else except that kind of genre. Man, who does that? That's the biggest mistake the music industry did, was putting all their eggs in one basket. Grunge. I had to live through that shit. I was pissed off. Like coming up in the 80s, in the 90s, I hated grunge. I hated all that shoegazing fucking as long as they kind of acted stupid and passive aggressive and Ernest is Winnie the Pooh or whatever, they could get a record contract. Like the shit bands, the worst bands in the night, the worst. I mean, watch Nirvana live. They're talking about corporate bands suck. You guys releasing Nevermind, they never sounded like that album. That album's so polished and this and that and the other thing. Nirvana was one of the worst live bands. I don't care what anybody says. They were horrible. On their best gig, they may be okay. But they just, oh God. They didn't really band together. It sounded like three dudes, So I wasn't a fan. Again, I bought that first album and then I had In Utero or something, the second one, which I think is actually better because that's kind of what they sound. I think Serve the Servants is their best song. That's the only kind of song I like by them. But yeah, I wasn't a fan. When that was all going on, I was into kind of deeper. My favorite band at that time was a band called the Hypnotics from like London. It's awesome. Soul, Glitter, and Sin. That's a great album. And I was listening to a lot of Smiths, Pixies, then old rock and roll, but I just didn't get the whole Nirvana. They're like the Beatles. No, they're not. No fucking way, man. It's not even the same sport. It's not even. He was he plagiarized. He admitted it. They had to settle out. I mean, this is a thing. People know this. That's maybe why he murdered himself. No. So where was he murdered? So until I moved to LA in like March of '98, I didn't know. I didn't keep up. I could give a shit. Kurt Cobain committed suicide. It was a sad day. I remember that day when he. I feel for him, man. That's tough. Wasn't into none of that. So it wasn't. And they acted like the king was dead. So when I got out there, I didn't have any kind of clue to. There was a conspiracy because I'm all about a good conspiracy, So then I got in a band right off the bat when I got to LA. I got in a band with Sean, who'd been in the Asexuals, and he and I started a band called LaMotta. And one of the things we kind of bonded over was our dislike of this shit that was going on. We loved the Clash. We loved, Jason and the Scorchers, even like kind of all this all over the place. But Nirvana, we both were like, what the fuck? Like, hey, let's start a band and kind of. And even though we were a three-piece, he sang and played guitar, I played bass and sang, and we had a drummer. We were more, let's just say rock and roll, if you will. And that whole punk rock, oh yeah, I just didn't get that whole. People were making fun of other bands like corporate rock, these old dinosaur band. hair band. Man, dude, who gives a shit? Let them do what they're gonna do. And Nirvana, like bad mouthing Journey, and like, dude, Steve Perry's one of the best singers ever. If you don't get that, I don't want to be around you. I mean, I know people have tastes and this and that and the other, but it's like people with personality defects, that'll affect what they listen to. You know, if they're like an aggravating dipshit, that's what they'll listen to. Aggravating dipshit music. I mean, shit, come on. Musicians aren't the smartest people in the world anyway. And back in like 1990, maybe 89 or 90, I was in a band in Champaign-Urbana. We were called Electric Elephant. We had played the Blind Pig like that week. And then when we weren't playing, if there was bands playing, there was a parking lot there. We'd hang out in the parking lot, like just, hey, you know. And so it was like Nirvana, Tad, and I think Mudhoney. Again, I'd never heard of these bands. I didn't even go in to see them. I hung out and played in the park. I mean, hung out and drank in the parking lot and, you know, partying. And then there was like a back door at the Blind Pig where you could kind of look in. Every time a band would come on that night, I'd look in and watch a song or two. So I watched like a song or two Nirvana. I wasn't no. Then later on, we kind of didn't hang out. But we saw them. There we are. We could talk to everybody. Hey, well, your band playing, huh? And then later on, like a year or so later, it's like, that's skinny little smelly dude. Well, good for him, you know. But so let's get to the the juicy. So I, you know, being around Sean and the Asexuals, Nirvana was a fan of the Asexuals. That's another thing. Like he had fans. Like Sean was a little bit higher on the rock and roll fame or whatever it is, infamy, than me. But we hung out every day. We were best friends for a long time, and we like every day we're eating like Whoppers, like Burger King every day. And he knew, and his friend, they knew them all. They knew everybody. We were just in that and the other, going to, you know, weird, like having lunch with just everybody. It might be Ozzy's drummer Randy Castillo, who was a cool dude. When I met Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains, I didn't even know who he was. Later on, I was like, "Who was that guy?" Oh, that's Jerry from Alice. Jerry from Alice. I didn't know. So I think we're at the farmers market in LA, the old farmers market where they kind of built it up. And we're sitting around with like tour managers, guys that like road dogs, roadies and stuff. And they were like, they kind of, like they were talking about Kurt being murdered. Like, what? Murdered? Yeah. Well, how would, who? And this is what they told me. Again, this is like third, you know, and how they learned it. It's just silly. But certain people involved, I'm not going to name names, but whoever was involved, they like, they'll never be investigated because they use like David Geffen's private plane to go up there and do it back. What? I don't know. I was like, David Geffen's private plane. I mean, how would you arrange that? And then there was a guy, you know, that documentary, El Duce of the Mentors, said that he was offered I guess the contract on Kurt Cobain's life. And he turned it down because it wasn't like, he didn't think it was real. Like he thought it was fake. Like, oh, you know. And supposedly this other dude in the band, this guy named Alan Wrench, he's the one that said, yeah, I'll do it. See, I can. And there's videos of him talking about kind of bragging. But then again, it's like, couldn't you just like lean into that? Like somebody mentioned oh yeah, I did it. Ha 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 ha. Just to like promote your band. You know, that's kind of what I'm thinking here. But these roadie people, and I know other things. Again, they were talking about how it was the last like deal on the album deal. Like he wasn't going to resign. Like he told, yeah, I'll resign. They felt like, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm not resigning. Also, he pulled out of like the Lollapalooza. They're supposed to headline Lollapalooza. That's a lot of money that people lost. So they were saying like people were pissed. And he kind of like just wanted to retire and just, hey, maybe he knew it was bullshit. People trying to say he's the next John Lennon. Come on, man. Again, he could write a catchy tune. He was an okay guitar player. His guitar tone, I mean, he used like a DS1, like a Boss Orange DS1, put his stomp on that. Hey, go. And a chorus, small stone. It wasn't that. I mean, again, he did better than me, but and again, I didn't. It wasn't like that I was a fan. I wasn't like, didn't have the Stockholm syndrome. Well, he's the best. He's the best. No, I've seen a lot of great bands. Hell, Georgia Satellites are better than Nirvana. Shit, that's what I'm thinking. I've seen a lot of like Nirvana. I've heard it's just not that. So was he murdered? In the documentary, they talk about he was getting a divorce. There was all this stuff kind of coming to a head. And then I knew someone that was kind of close to that kind of, I shouldn't say much. You see, I hate censoring myself on my podcast, but I knew someone who was close to that camp, let's just say the Nirvana, Foo Fighter, whatever camp. And we became close. And then it's like they were saying like, and they were scared of Courtney Love. This is when Courtney Love was a thing. I don't know about now, but and how she's alive is crazy. The life she lived, shit. But they talked about certain, like they didn't want, and hush whispers. Like, they didn't want people to know that they thought this. Then I went with them to like this sushi restaurant with all these other kind of Nirvana camper, the people in that realm. They'd all moved off and done everything, but they too. They were like, a lot of us think like we won't say. Matter of fact, if we're talking about like, oh no, but they were scared to say anything about like maybe he was, and they seemed like they knew a little bit more than. I mean, of course, me. I didn't. But then I would start thinking like, what the hell, Then I watched that documentary, the one about and there's been others. But the strange thing about like, El Duce, he did the interview saying like, hey, he was offered to do it. He said no. And then in that interview, I think it was like a week later, he was found dead. Last seen with this other dude who, I mean, it's kind of strange. And this, where he was at in Hollywood, it was called the Rock Shop, where supposedly Courtney pulled up and offered him to, hey, will you kill my old man? Whatever. I used to hang out at the Rock Shop too. This is like years later, and it's closed now, but they would just be openly drinking. We used to bring in 12 packs and cases of beers just to hang out and drink with these dudes. Rock and roll, hey. So maybe there's a lot of strange stuff around, the coroner, he got in trouble for faking coroner reports and ended up being Courtney's friend. And her bass player died of a strange overdose after that. There's a lot of money to be made in grunge, man. They literally sank everything, hook, line, and sink. That's all we're gonna do. No more. It killed because not just rock and roll, but they went after adult contemporary, like everything. Remember adult contemporary? Like they'd be a hit every once in a while. Don't worry, be happy. It's not really a genre, like these songs, like you don't get that anymore. You just get this. That's it. We're painting like primary colors. That's all you get is, come on, man. That was when I knew back even then. I knew even by the time he like committed suicide or whatever happened to him, I knew. I was like, man, this is not good. This is not good. And that's why I kind of In '94, I quit Love Engineer. It was over. So I was in a band called Love Engineer, and we had met with A&R people. One of them was like DGC, David Geffen Company. That's what, or Geffen, one of those. I think it was DGC. And it's called like a showcase. They come to one of your gigs. We were playing Mabel's, and I don't know if it was at sound check or right before we went on. Like, hey, there's a A&R person from, and A&R means like artists and repertoire. They're the people that like can get you signed. Go back to them and like, yeah, sign them. They're like the middle person between the money people at the label. And they're a lot of times they're just like hipster know-it-alls, like all connected. They're not really. They've never been in a band. Anyway. So we were excited, and we like let's just talk. So we went up to the top level of Mabel's, where like near the soundboard, like we're away from all the ground. And she was like 22 years old. This A&R person hated my band and didn't want to be there, but they sent her because I get the story was the label liked this or somebody, but then they sent her, and then she didn't. No, and she told us like, hey. I'm signing the next Veruca Salt and everybody that sounds like Veruca Salt. That's all I want to sign. And we kind of like lit into her. I mean, granted, it was funny. She was laughing by then, but we're like, what are you doing putting all your eggs in one basket? Are you kidding me? Why were you even here? I remember telling like, why did you even come? Well, they sent me. And we were like talking, and she's like, yeah, I mean, her dad was an attorney for the label. So of course she got a job. It was on nepotism and cronyism, favoritism, But just don't show up. Or come and leave before, you talk to. That happened with us with like Elektra Records. They sent a dude, and then he wasn't around after the gig. Like, what? Where's he at? He didn't like us, I guess. Whatever. I mean, you can't hit. Don't stick around just to like nanny boo boo us. And people in Champaign. There was a few people around that heard this conversation. My band, we had roadie friends, girlfriend, and we kind of lit into her. Not me, but like. Champaign is like back then it was not only a kind of a force to be reckoned with, like that town, as small as it was. Honestly, I think for per capita, like population, we were the hottest little town because we only had like we had all those bands coming out of there. The law of averages would dictate there wouldn't be, but there was back then. It was popping. So many good bands in this small little college town. And honestly, I don't see why Champaign didn't do better. I don't know. It's you would have thought, because some of those bands were, digits. Come on, Titanic Love Affair, huh? Like, how did they not? Anyway, yeah. So I've had it's like these, the A&R girl from DGC or whatever didn't like us, signed the next Veruca Salt and every other Veruca Salt, and then you saw that happen. Like you saw that, like it's the same thing, just another, Don't they know? Don't they have any foresight? Are you that dumb? Aren't there some like old executives like, whoa, you can't do this? No, they were just like, well, no, this is what we're. Don't tell me what to do, kind of thing. There's something strange about his suicide. I don't know what it is. It could be some of these rumors that I heard. Is it a combination of all those things? Like, hey, you better sign with and a lot. He's in the 27 club where people like died when they're 27. And a lot of them had the same kind of. Jim Morrison died at 27. He was also not going to re-sign. That was the last album on their contract, and he wanted to go write poems in Paris or some shit. Jimi Hendrix, same thing. Just got new management, wasn't going to do this, that, show up gear, dad, see what? He's dead. All Janis Joplin, all of them. Kurt Cobain, the same thing. He wasn't going to resign. He pulled out money. Something's up. What are the averages? Any other occupation, wouldn't that be kind of suspicious? Like, well, but in rock and roll, the arts, oh no, he's just another junkie, and he. I actually had a run-in. Should I even say this? All right. I had a run-in with Courtney Love at the Silver Lake Lounge. Was it Silver Lake Lounge or was it which one was it? Anyway, it was in Silver Lake. I was at a Daniel Lanois concert. Okay, he was mostly known as a producer. Did U2 and everything, but he did one of my favorite, Coyote Shivers. So he's done like huge and so he's amazing. So me and a friend, we went to see Daniel Lanois, and like every hipster in town was there. And this is in 2004, maybe 2005. Uh, was it the Silver Lake Lounge? What was the other club on Silver Lake Boulevard there? Anyway, so it had a smoking area. Like you go up some stairs, there was some pool table. You had to go smoke there. So I went up to smoke, and I don't even know why this happened, but there was glass windows, and there was some kind of commotion, like where I had come from. Like we had a table sitting. I was like, "What the hell's going on there?" Um, and I'm smoking, and then here comes this person with a hood on, like looking kind of street mean, and like people are parting ways. I'm like, "Damn, what's going on here?" And I didn't know who it was, Uh, so they're coming. And I thought, you know what? I'm getting out of here. If there's already a fight, like, so I put my cigarette out, walking, and they came and like shouldered me, like, "Whoa," and I turned, and it was uh Courtney Love. I thought it was a guy. Took off her hoodie, and she looked all crazy. And I guess she was just out of her mind, like starting shit with people, looking for, she likes starting trouble, like picking fights, something like that, picking fights. So I go out, go down, and then the person I'm with, they're all, Courtney. Yeah. So Courtney was just going around like slapping people and fucking. So like, let's just get out of here. Of course, Courtney Love don't know who I am, but it was just one of those strange things. One of the, she hit me hard, bam, and it wasn't just me. It wasn't like she focused on me. She was just out raising hell at a Daniel Lanois concert, and all these again, every hipster in town, everybody was there, and it was a great show. He is, man, I wish I could have worked with him. But I don't know. I mean, if you're around crazy people, also around that time, it was a shift in the guard is like the music industry, like the people behind the scenes weren't that. I mean, there never have been, but it was again man, they just fucked everything up. Like every person that I ever talked to in like a major label situation, even if it wasn't about my band, because a lot of people they didn't like my band, so it's okay, whatever. But just knowing people, this that being around, and like they were the same type of person, didn't really have any lineage as far as like, oh, I've worked this, that. No, they came out of some college. They maybe had a fanzine or something, or booked some shows at some college. It all became these like college people. It all became, oh, these hipsters, this, that, and they're like the whole industry. And they were going after the old guard. They did. They shit, hey, a new like a person would come in and they would just get rid of a whole division. Like everybody lost their jobs, this, that, and the other. And then when they're hurt, like, what happened? Well, you can't kill off what you're, you know, shit. I remember watching like something about Warrant, like on VH1 or something. And they were Columbia Records, darling, selling millions of albums. They went in like beginning of a tour. They had just released an album. When you went into the main office, it was all Warrant, like these big panels and Warrant and platinum albums. Like, yeah, like whining to come on in. Yeah, yeah. Like they got off that tour, 7-8 month tour or whatever, and then go back to the main offices, and then it's Alice in Chains, and they have to wait in the lobby, and what the who and you are, and then the people that they used to work with are all gone. They have to be introduced to these new, hey, and they. I mean, that's just how it is, or was. Not cool. But I think there's something up with his suicide. I don't think that strange. Perhaps, maybe. There's a lot of huhs in this thing too. Was El Duce really lying about Courtney? I think she offered him like 50 grand. Isn't that a little low to kill a rock star? I don't know. You think they should have offered more. But maybe that's the going rate. Well, the going rate around here to kill some rock star about 50 G's. Can I get 60? You know, strange. No fingerprints on the weapon. You know, it looks like there's handwriting in it. Like the letter he left didn't really mention any except the last 4 lines. It looked totally different. And suppose they matched Courtney's. And then they found like a cheat sheet where she was, come on. Or was she set up? See, that's another thing. Like, that's what you do. That's what you would do. You'd put a few barriers between you and the crime, and hey, let's set up everybody. If that one doesn't work, this one, what happens? That's what you do. Or was it planned? You would think that he would have had security at that house. Like, he's Kurt Cobain, the next John Lennon. He's there by himself or something. Somebody could just mosey on up and. Yeah, there's some weird stuff. And I think that we're going to find out. I think that this is another thing that'll probably, in the near future, but maybe not. Maybe not. What do you think? Comment below. Maybe Nirvana's your favorite band. Who knows? Also, people that I were saying that he was gonna, and I've also seen this on these documentaries, that he was gonna totally shift gears again and maybe go into folk music or something, like acoustic only. I don't know. Jim Croce kind of vibe. Maybe. And they never really, like Nirvana, it's strange, like they're the #1 band, but they never really did like a huge tour, like a massive tour, like say Guns N' Roses did, or Soundgarden, or any of these other, Skid Row, whoever. Is that because people knew, like, oh man, for one, live, I'm not trying to point, they weren't that, I mean, they were like good, like average good, but then they were off a lot. So look up some of those. It's just loud. And again, if it's punk rock, punk rock. Quite honestly, man, that has that's another thing. Like, we're using words, and then grunge. And I know they probably didn't have, but they were coining. I just didn't like it. And then the one place, Seattle, that's the play. No, Seattle, no, that's not it. Come on. That's what babies do. It's all mine. I self me. It's just me. Like, it's just like shit. And all that weird stuff we're dealing with now started around that time. Those certain types of people, and this, that, and the other. And the bitching and the belly aching and shame culture and blame. And it started with Nirvana, man. I hate to say it. The world changed. Yeah, they changed it. It had been right since. Everything went to shit. All the arts, movies, it's everything. Maybe Nirvana wasn't, I mean, they should have been like an independent band. You just don't want to, and maybe Kurt knew, they kind of knew, come on, they had to know. I'm not a Dave Grohl fan. Again, he's great. I know he had, but see, and I own that first album, or the Foo Fighters album, I should say. But been around the, rodeo, is to say a little bit. Every town has a Dave Grohl, man. It's all about opportunity. He got an opportunity to showcase his talents. I know so many dudes that play drums and guitar and sing like they're a band on their own. You can take them to the studio and they'll play it all. That isn't that rare. Shit, I know. I'm friends with people. So for them to like Dave Grohl, dude, it could be the best stuff in the world, I guess. Honest, nothing. And then he can't get away from him. Oh, what? No, please make it stop. Is it just me? Am I the asshole that doesn't, Maybe. I like Material Issue way better than Nirvana. Like when Nirvana was coming up, I was telling Material Issue, and I was in a heavy, like tuned down band, but I liked all kinds of stuff. Susie and the Banshees, and there was good music around, but you were beat over the head with like Seattle grunt, like it was everything, and their shorts, and they're wearing like combat boots and short. Come on, man. You're a man. You're an adult man. You're dressing like a, Pearl Jam, one of the worst bands in my whole. I hate Pearl Jam, bitching about his daddy and singing about little. I hate that. Just oh man, her. I hate that style of singing. That's the easiest, low hanging fruit. Anybody can do that. Then that opened the floodgates for every other. Oh, dude, you just want to like commit suicide. Maybe that's what happened. He just couldn't take it. I can't take it. But I have a feeling something was set. I think there was a setup. I don't know what it was. Even if they drove him to do this, like you just keep on him. You know how sensitive he is. What is he'll do something? Maybe there was a couple again level barriers of setup. So you don't want it to lead back to you. So let's blame them. If that don't work, let's blame. Like I just said, it could be. Perhaps. But hey, I get people love Nirvana. I get it. Maybe it's a generational thing because I was already in bands. So I didn't like, oh. But look, I do this every day. I'm ranting like a madman. So come back tomorrow. I love y'all. Be blessed. Cheers.